Hello and welcome back to the Premier Injuries channel. Today we've got our weekly captaincy picks video. Before we get into it, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, leave a comment. In terms of captaincy picks this week and maybe going forward till the African Cup of Nations, I feel like it's Salah and then everybody else is a big differential. I mean, Ben, do you want to talk us through why Salah is the top pick for this game week?
If you don't know why Salah is the top pick in the team, stop playing the game. There you are. You could just end the video there.
Yeah.
Look, even if you don't want Salah to be your captain now, he's ruined it.
Yeah.
The problem is he's too good. He's spoiled the whole game for everyone. If you're bothered about overall rank and it features high on your wish list to finish in a certain area, then unfortunately you're going to have to go with Salah, and more often than not you're going to have to captain him because his effective ownership is through the roof. And if he bangs like he has been doing, and he's in I think Graham Potter said it put it really well on Thursday. They discussed Mo Salah and his form, and he said it's out of this world, and he went, no, it's not. He says it's better than that. It's out of this universe. He says and he is. I didn't expect him to get that hat-trick against Manchester United. 10 consecutive games. I don't see him blanking anytime soon. It's ridiculous.
And the games that you'd expect him to blank or have difficulty in, the Man City and the Chelsea one, scored in them as well. He just put everybody to kind of rest who might have doubted him, said he wouldn't do well. And just to give context, like you said, their expected ownership, this game week, he had around 170% expected ownership. I mean, it's absolutely insane. And you're going to really have a problem kind of beating that. The problem is if you don't captain him with the effective ownership, then you're sunk. You'll have such a big red arrow that it would be really hard to catch up. But the flip side is if you've got massive kahunas, and this is why we're doing the captaincy video, if you want a differential pick to maybe pip those people that might be backing Salah indefinitely, then you could do really well. 160 plus effective ownership. If you then captain maybe Mason Mount, you'd be laughing last game week because he got the same points and fire you up the rankings. But let's go through it then. Who's somebody that you think could be an interesting differential pick for this game week, Ben?
Phil Foden is the obvious one that springs to mind. We see him as an out of position centre forward, striker, false nine in recent times. If you look at his heat map, you will see predominantly he's playing in that central forward role. And of course, we're talking about Manchester City here. We just mentioned that Salah transcends fixtures, opponents, the team. Well, Manchester City do that as well. They're in great form. And I've mentioned on previous podcasts, we're now seeing the Phil Foden that we expected to see after the departure of David Silva. It's maybe just taken a little bit longer. But look, he's been handed this opportunity and he's grasped it with both hands. And for me as well, another significant factor in maybe going for somebody like Phil Foden is we always talk about the Pep roulette and the changes. And yes, he does. However, we have seen this season a little bit more stability with Pep's lineup. I think it was on 3 occasions this season already. He's actually named an unchanged team, which is practically unheard of. And some of those lineups were following Champions League to league as well. And he stuck with that. Pep's come out and he said, if you're playing well and you deserve that shirt, I'm going to keep you in the team. And he's been true to his word. The second factor that I do like Foden for, you look at maybe who can potentially pressure him from the bench. And there's nobody really that sort of jumps out and grabs my attention. One possibility you might throw in the mix, maybe Raheem Sterling, again as a false nine, but his form has been questioned this season. His minutes have been managed. And when he has had the opportunity, he just hasn't done enough for me. So For that reason, I just think, we have Ferran Torres, who's injured now. And by default, because Liam Ian Delap is also sidelined, even by default, even if Pep wanted to change things around a little bit more, I don't think he really can. And he's maybe left with Phil Foden, which isn't a bad option. And I know people could maybe throw in Kevin De Bruyne and also Gabriel Jesus with Mahrez. But look, I do like Foden, and I do think he's one of Pep's, fairly confident that he's going to be starting from game week to game week, while them carrying, injuries and downturns in forms with some of those players on the fringes.
Yeah, and looking at his data since he's kind of been back in that Man City team, really good stuff. 2.62 XGI, 12 shots in the box. That XGI is only behind Salah and Antonio from game week 6 to 9. So really kind of impressive stuff. He's one of the big kind of players at the moment in the league. And what I like as well, adding to everything that you've said there, he's playing Crystal Palace this week. And for all the kind of positives that we've said about Crystal Palace, first and foremost, it's Man City kind of coming to town and will go to town on them. They're just going to, rip them apart, because however good Palace have been, City, Liverpool, they're two teams that are just levels above everybody else in the Premier League. They're levels above even Chelsea. These two are the two best teams in the league by far, and maybe two of the best teams in Europe right now as well. So what I like adding to that is Crystal Palace have been good at the back in a sense in terms of XG conceded, but they've severely underperformed that, conceded about 5 more goals than they should have. Against Man City, how brilliant the chances are that they create, how good Phil Foden is at putting the ball into the back of the net. They're going to be punished even more. And I think this could be actually quite a high-scoring game. People kind of look at it and go, oh, it might be a difficult one for City. Palace are playing well. I don't see it as such. It's kind of reflected in some of the betting data as well. Highest odds, Man City have a 2.5 goals or more this game week, 51% likelihood of it. So, yeah, there's kind of a lot of numbers to back up Foden as a really good captaincy pick. We said Salah is brilliant at the start, but I think if Salah wasn't in the equation, Foden would have to be the favourite choice. I'm going to bring, though, Heung-min Son to the board. Early in the week, we chatted, me, you and Lynn about Son, that it's definitely a fixture rather than form or data pick. But I really like that Man City, that they're playing Manchester United at a time when they're in a terrible position. And I think things aren't going to improve till there's a new manager there. In terms of it, over the last few game weeks, Man United have gone from bad to worse to the worst in the Premier League. And now they sit rock bottom of all teams in the last 4 for XG conceded. So really, really poor there. Son himself, as we said, Tottenham, not really in the best of form. This is why it's more like a fixture one. And so he himself, though, has been fine, good attacking returns, not amazing data to boot, but sometimes he doesn't, and he still does good because he's so good. But the defence of Man United is so bad at the moment. I think it could play well into the hands of Tottenham. But Ben, do you think that this is too much focus on a fixture?
It doesn't really sit well with me, if the truth be known. I've voiced my concerns with regards to Tottenham on several occasions already this season. What this fixture will tell me is, are the players with Ollie, or have they had enough, and is it time for a new manager? Because if they have any shred of respect for that guy, then they will come out and they will try to give a good performance on Saturday. And even if they don't get the result, it could still be quite a tight game. You would expect United to be fighting tooth and nail. Raphael Veron hasn't been ruled out completely at this stage yet at the time of recording. Now, yes, he may lack a little bit of fitness and sharpness, but it wouldn't surprise you under the circumstances if he was thrown straight back in there. I know we've seen that by Solskjaer recently with Harry Maguire, and he faced a bit of a backlash for that decision. But Varane's only been out a couple of weeks, so and the situation is slightly different, and the circumstances following that defeat at Old Trafford, it could be one sort of last roll of the dice. So yeah, I'm maybe not as sweet on Son as yourself, just because I just don't like Tottenham. And if the expectation is that Son's going to come out and grab himself a goal or two, and Tottenham are going to score, then almost Nuno needs to change his philosophy that he's adopted for the last maybe 12 to 18 months. This more passive, conservative style of play, which isn't very appealing in the eye, and we've seen for the large part this season, whether it be the Carabao Cup, the Europa Conference, and also in the Premier League. I mean, they've been pretty dreadful throughout.
Yeah, this is the point as well, is kind of why I said it's a fixture pick. I like it as a bit of a fun punt. I'm considering getting Son into my team as well. I don't have him at the moment, but I look at the fixtures coming up for Tottenham, and if they're ever going to do well, now is the time. They play Man U next. Then they play Everton, who have been pretty bad at the back. And then they go into a string of really, really good fixtures. And if they can't perform then you kind of write them off for the season and go that they're just not going to do well. Nuno's not the right man. But if any player is going to do well in those fixtures, for me, it's Son. Kane, yes, he's absolutely brilliant. He's world class. But there's something just off with him, and I think everybody can kind of figure out what that is. But Son is still as good as he ever was, whereas Kane, not so much. The other one that I think we both talked about off air and kind of thought it's an interesting one, but again, it is quite punty. Mason Mount. Ben, do you want to talk us through the kind of stuff that you discussed with me?
Yeah, I mean, you look back to last season, it's probably easy to forget. Chelsea's chief creator, only second behind Bruno Fernandes in the Premier League for chances created last season. And following the arrival of Romelu Lukaku, this was it. We were expecting him to kick on. We were expecting big numbers from Mason Mount. Injury, rotation, European fixtures, I think they've all culminated in a rather, I suppose, disappointing start for Mason Mount up until what would have been game week 9. And then, of course, bang, he's arrived for the season. And that coincided with the absence of Lukaku and also Timo Werner. Questions asked then about who's going to lead that Chelsea attack, who's going to stand up and take responsibility, shoulder that portion of the goals. It's time for those players, those considered to be big Chelsea players, to stand up and be counted. And yes, look, it was Norwich City, so we can't read too much into that. But you don't see many teams going out and hammering Norwich 7-0 as they do. And we touched upon it earlier in the week. That Chelsea side only give up their XG conceded was less than a penalty during those first opening 45 minutes, and they still found themselves 3-0 down. Once it got to 4 and 5, it's heads in the time. It's tin hat time. It's done. But look, if Mason Mount needs to use that now as a springboard for the remainder of the campaign, and particularly in the absence of those two players still, and without a recognised sort of striker, then maybe Mason Mount is your guy.
And the thing is, as well, is we talk about last week being the Norwich game, almost like a write-off because they're so bad. Newcastle, unfortunately, haven't been much better, and so it's kind of almost in that bracket of, well, it's Norwich this week, it's Newcastle next. These are two games that you expect Chelsea to go out there and absolutely thump the opposition. And like you said at the start of your kind of précis of Mount, he was the second most creative player. He is the creative force in that Chelsea team. So, if he doesn't score a few this week, then maybe he'll be the one assisting the team because so much comes through him. And the team have had their struggles this season, the Chelsea one, in terms of scoring goals. And part of the problem is probably because Mason Mount hasn't been 100%. And so maybe the fact that he is getting back to those levels that he was at last season means that he and the whole team can kind of push on back to that elite level. So I think it's an interesting shout. It's kind of a little bit of form because he was fantastic in form last week, but it's definitely a fixture-based choice as well. And maybe it could be the template breaker as well, having Mount as your captain instead of Salah. I don't know. It depends how brave you people are. But as always, we wish everybody the best of luck. I hope that you've enjoyed this information. Please do subscribe to the channel, like, comment below, just have fun with it. You know, we're giving you differential ideas from differential Dinnery himself, but the choices are always yours. And we love to hear if those gambles have paid off or if they haven't. But for now, I'm going to wish you the best of luck, and we will see you again very, very soon.